When a wife and mother living in a pre-Roe v. Wade society finds out that her current pregnancy is likely to kill her, she seeks means of ending the pregnancy. This is Call Jane. I'm John Stark from ActiveMovieGuy.com, and we're going to talk about whether or not you should watch Call Jane. I'm a blind film critic, and I usually watch films with audio description, but this one did not have it, and I wanted to see it anyway. I was just interested in the subject matter. This one was definitely one for me. This is one where I made the choice. I didn't watch it with anybody else, I just watched it by myself. And it didn't look like it was going to. I saw the distributor, and there was nothing about this that made me think, oh, that distributor is going to put audio description on the film. It's just an indie film that it didn't really land in theaters. It's not getting Oscar buzz. It's just kind of dead. It got good reviews. Like, it has a positive reception from critics. But yeah, it's just one of those films that just slips through cracks and people just stop talking about it. One of those films that has a high Rotten Tomatoes score, and you look at it and you're like, why isn't anybody giving this reviews if it's this well liked? Well, sometimes people forget. That's why. But I do think that my overall ability to enjoy the film was affected by the lack of audio description, which is why we should always have it. It shouldn't be this thing where like some things have it and some things don't. There are billions of blind and visually impaired people living, so they should have access. We're not like some weird, strange little minority of population, but yeah. There are scenes where there aren't dialogue. There are scenes where they cut away. There are like little montages where you feel like they're advancing time. You're pretty sure they're advancing time. I was pretty sure that they advanced time based on what had happened before and after. But beneath all of that, there's a compelling story, which sucks because I feel like this is a film that I would have liked a lot more and likely given a higher grade to if I'd been able to sort of follow it a little bit better. So I feel weird when I'm in that place. It's like a 50-50 coin toss on will you be able to follow it. You're going to miss out on a lot of detailed descriptions. Obviously, it's a period, not period, like way back into that. It's not, this isn't Victorian era, but it is a period piece in that it's coming from a certain time period. So obviously, the costumes are going to be choices that people make. They're not just going to be looking like they're coming in off the street, like they could be your neighbors. And the cars that people drive, and the stuff that's in people's houses, and just even simply using like a corded phone or a rotary dial at that time would have been just little details that we would be missing. But following the fact that HBO documentaries made The Janes last year, which was a fantastic documentary that's been shortlisted for the Academy Awards, at least as of my reviewing this film. It's still on the short list for Best Documentary Feature. There are two films that are oddly both about the Roe v. Wade experience that in no way could have been made in the amount of time from Roe being killed by the Supreme Court. So that means that these filmmakers were thinking about this in a world in which we still had it. So, and they were telling these stories anyway. They just felt like that this story was worth telling, which is really interesting to me. The Janes dropped at almost the exact same time as the Roe v. Wade getting killed. So that made that documentary even more timely. But Call Jane was just a few months later. And Elizabeth Banks plays the lead character here. She's the one that's struggling. It's a little bit of a comedy drama. I mean, it's dark. It's a dark comedy at times. There's there's some scenes that are darkly funny in the way that they're handled. They're also probably true. There's a scene where she's trying to appeal to the board of doctors. She tries to do it the right way. Her doctor has told her that she has a congenital heart condition, and that the pregnancy is likely to kill her. That the odds are not in her favor. And it's not, granted, it's one of those things where the guy can't say, well, 1% of the population lives. So this male doctor when she has to appeals to a room full of male doctors, and she's standing there, and they all talk around her, and she's like, I'm standing right here. You guys can talk. And they're like, does the lady know? Does the woman know? Does she know? And she's like, I'm right here. I'm here. I'm standing right here. And to me, I thought that was an intentionally funny scene, like that we're okay to laugh at. It's not the subject matter. It just goes to the whole idea of men making this decision, and the woman, nobody's listening to the woman, and I got what the director was trying to do, and I understand that. And the sad thing is, it was probably historically accurate scene. I'm sure that's happened. That board of directors obviously does not go in her way. So, and then after she leaves the room, the doctor offers her one more thing, which is really bizarre, because her chance of dying is already, like, she's trying to not die. And then his suggestion is that she can get two psychiatrists to believe that she's suicidal, that she can terminate the pregnancy. So he asks her, are you feeling suicidal? And right after that experience, she's like, yeah, I am. So, I mean, there are times in this film where it's like, it's okay to laugh at it, but at the same time, it does deal with, like, serious subject matter. And it is a tough subject, and it's obviously a very divisive subject. And there are people who, just by me talking about the film, are probably going to be like, just me reviewing the film, I could lose subscribers, I feel like. That's how divisive we are in this country about this subject. But when you look at the film and just the story and what this woman is doing, and just take the story for what it is, I thought it was interesting. I felt like, especially having seen the Janes, which was something I didn't know anything about, that there was this, like, a group of women that were running this abortion ring in Chicago, and finding a way to provide that service for women. And this is basically a fictionalized account of how that possibly could have worked for somebody who used that service. And then not only does she use the service, but she starts meeting the other women. She starts meeting the Janes, one of which is Sigourney Weaver, is sort of like the leader of that group. And she ends up working with them. First, just low level. They have people sort of at different points. They have people who are just drivers. They pick somebody up and they drive them to another place, and they try to do it in a way in which it never reveals their entire organization, and they can never get everybody all at once if it is a cop. So she goes through that and eventually ends up working her way into the room when the procedure is happening. And she works for a doctor's office, granted not as a nurse, but she does work for a doctor's office, so she has absorbed the world and just sort of maybe the demeanor that is needed. And she has this very calm demeanor and puts women at ease, and then she wriggles her way into learning how to do the procedure herself, and actually ends up performing abortions herself. So, and it seems sort of like you know, how could all this happen? I mean, she has a husband, she has a daughter. How could all this happen without them noticing? She kind of pretends that she's taking like an art class, you know. She kind of lies her way out of that. And nobody's really happy. This thing, it's not like everybody's supportive of her life choices. But she just was in a situation where she was told that carrying this baby could kill her, and she was worried about leaving the child that she already has behind, and potentially the child that she's giving birth to, you know, that she never would get to see. So dying in childbirth was the fear for her, and she was able to assuade herself of that fear, and she's just trying to help other women that are in the same boat. And there's a lot of talk here about the racial disparity and who's able to afford the abortions, because the abortions are expensive. They're performed under the table by people willing to do them. So the fact that they can possibly find a way to do this for more lower income women is one of the things this film focuses on, especially black women. There's one of the members of the Janes is black and talks about how they end up turning away so many black women that don't have $600 at that time to be able to do that, which is this is a lot of money for that time period, to get without, you know, unless you're unless you were sleeping around with somebody and the guy tells you to take care of it and gives you the money for it. It's kind of hard to sneak $600 away from your husband. So yeah, it's just an interesting film. I was missing a lot from audio description. I thought Elizabeth Banks did a really good job. I'm surprised she's not more in the conversation. I feel like she's given some really good performances before, and I feel like maybe Hollywood should be ready to give her an award. So it's weird that she's not at least at the Jennifer Lawrence level of the Best Actress race, you know, where it's like, where she feels like a dark horse. I don't even know if she's on Gold Derby, to be totally honest. I don't even remember seeing her on Gold Derby for Best Actress, which is kind of just offensive and bizarre, because she's really good here, and especially considering some of the other performances I've seen them link up on there, I'm like, that's never going to get nominated. It feels like we're trying really hard to not nominate her in a film, likely because of the subject matter, which is, it's not really fair. It's not really fair. You have to watch stories that are not your own so that you can appreciate points of views that are not your own. It's fine. You know, I just wish there was audio description. That's kind of my biggest complaint, is I wish there was audio description, because there was a lot of things I was missing. There's a scene with a striptease, where like there was a striptease that was promised, and you know, the character was asked, you know, are you wearing a bra? And she was like, no. And she's obviously wearing something else, and she don't know what it is, because the agreement was that she would take off her blouse or something, like it was transactional. And she said she wasn't wearing a bra, but she's obviously wearing something else, because his reaction is, I thought you said you were wearing a bra. And she's like, I'm not. So I don't know what it was. So it's like that joke was lost on me. And there's a lot of things that are lost on me in this film, but I did enjoy Elizabeth Banks' performance. I do like the time period, learning about the story. I like the fact that in the same year I got a documentary that taught me about the Janes, and then I got like a fictional film that sort of showed me like how that would work. You know, like how let's apply that. Let's apply that knowledge now. Sort of like we got a lot of things this year about the Thai cave rescue. And then last year we had The Rescue, the documentary, and then we had 13 Lives, and we had the Netflix limited series Thai Cave Rescue. So if you don't know about the Thai Cave Rescue now, that's on you. So this was just me learning more about the Janes, and I appreciate knowing things sometimes. So I'm gonna give Call Jane a B. I think it would probably be higher. I don't know if this would ever be an A film for me, but I think it'd be a notch higher at least if it had audio description. I'd be shocked if it didn't go at least a notch higher if I just understood it a little bit better. It's a pretty high grade for a film without audio description for me. When there are gaps, it's not structured necessarily to be the most understandable film without audio description. It's not constant dialogue. So anyway, that's my review. Hopefully I don't lose subscribers. Anyway, so please subscribe. This is my point where you say, go ahead and subscribe. I like to talk about films from a blind person's perspective, and also usually films with audio description. So stay around. Stay tuned. I also have a website, macthemovieguy.com. I have a Twitter, @MacTheMovieGuy. You can follow me on Insta, @MacTheMovieGuy. You can go to the audio description project, adp.acb.org. If you want to watch a film that actually has audio description, you can look one up there and see where it's at. And you can go to the ADNA.org and type in your favorite films and TV shows and see who narrates them. That's it for me with Call Jane, and I will review something else for you guys and see you on the other side.